Cynthia Ramirez, and me as chair.
And before we take any action, we have 3 new members that have to be sworn in before they can
Okay.
vote. So Ms. Jimenez, Mr. Gonzalez, and Mr. Mena, you have the oath there. Cynthia, you want to just...
If you don't mind standing, and
Yes. These are our 3 elected.
not all of us.
Well, the 2 elected and then the 1 appointed because we had a vacancy.
Oh, that's right, he's taking the,
Yes.
that's right. You're right.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Eduardo Mena,
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office as a member of the Board of Directors
of the office of the member of the Board of Directors
of the El Paso Central Appraisal District
of the El Paso Central Appraisal District
of the State of Texas,
and the State of Texas,
and will do the best of my ability,
and will do the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
to protect and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
of this state, so help me God.
of this state, so help me God.
Thank you. You could sign
Thank
your
you.
document, and I will notarize it.
We're going to add a line in that says you will attend meetings regularly on time, and so we want to make sure that's what establishes a quorum.
Thank you, Board.
So I just want to state that we do have a quorum. There are 7 individuals here who are on the board, and we do have indeed a quorum. Do I have the prerogative of adjusting the agenda? Yes, you do. Okay, then what I'd like to do is move those items that have action to the front so that we can get them out of the way. And no one's going to leave right afterwards, but at least we'll get those done so that we can do the other things we have to do with a little bit more ease. The first thing is the approval of the minutes. Hopefully, you've all gotten the packet with the minutes. You've had a chance to look them over. I will entertain today any additions or corrections that you might have to the minutes. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as they've been submitted.
Move to approve minutes?
Second. Any objections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Financial reports? Oh, I know, but I'm waiting on that. That's one of the things we can wait on, because it's not an action item. We have to approve the financial reports, so is Rosa here?
Yes.
Rosa, if you would give your reports, yeah, we're going to do that. We're
Okay.
just waiting till we get these other things.
Just making sure.
No, I have, this is what.
Good evening, Rosa Goldman, Chief Financial Officer. We are presenting the financial reports actually for 3 months, which are April, May, and June 2024. The financial report contains the balance sheet, report of revenues, expenditures, and changes in cash balance, the investment report, and the note to the financial report.
Tab
And
4 in your packet.
it's 3 months.
Oh,
It's April, May, and June.
yeah.
And the only issue to report really is that in all the 3 months, we are over budget on one line item. It's one account, which is the building maintenance. We had a couple of things that we had to do that were not budgeted. So that is taking that account about budget. However, I want to assure the board that overall the budget is okay. We have an overage on the budget, so we are not over budget. It's only this line item because of the issues that happened. One of them, I can tell you, the second floor needed to be recoding to prevent leakage from the second floor to the first floor because we have offices on the first floor right below the parking lot. And that one was already by itself about $42,000, so which was not budgeted. And then we had done some the network cabling had to be done, and say the third floor we had to build a little closet to house the switches for the network. So that was not budgeted either. So right there you have, an amount that was not budgeted. So it's a little bit over 50,000. And then we had a few other smaller things, but that have been happening. We had 2 windows on the front of the building that were cracked or broken. And yes, the insurance paid, but we still had the deductible. Then we had the water leakage from the second floor, on the second floor, the plumbing. again, the insurance paid, their part, but we still had the deductible plus smaller amounts, some smaller amounts that they didn't pay. And then it just appears that this fiscal year, we have been having a few more plumbing issues, the bathroom, the sink, the water fountain, and this and that. So, this line item is just, it's going to continue to be over budget for the rest of the fiscal year. But again, overall, we are in very good shape because all other accounts are way under budget. So we don't have a problem. It's just this line item. Any questions?
Are you expecting next year to increase that budgetary item?
Yes, we are. We are planning. It's just that, like I said, things happened that we didn't anticipate. And since this budget was prepared in February of
Right,
2023, it's kind of difficult to know what's going to break.
Yeah, I just think maybe we should increase that line
Sure,
item for the
It
next.
was.
and we will.
You read my mind. I was just
Yeah.
gonna
Oh, is that what you were going to say?
And
And even, it is over budget, but just think about it. All of those expenses, I need to report them because they show on the
Absolutely, yeah.
report. However, all of that really can be taken out of the contingency line item. So it's not that huge of a deal, really.
Rosa,
Yes, sir.
Wasn't the parking lot, if I remember correctly, repaired a couple years
Yes.
back?
Couple of
by
years.
a vendor?
Yeah, yes.
Didn't that have some sort of warranty or
no,
insurance?
this is the sealant. It's not the repair of what we needed to repair. It's a sealant that we have to put over a large section right behind the building on the second floor that keeps the water beating and not soaking into. And so it's a sealant because underneath,
If the
it's
water
not
sinks,
dirt,
it will
it's a
corrode.
building.
It'll
Yeah.
corrode.
So
And
it's a sealant
it was
that-
not a fix, it was more like a recoating to prevent it, to prevent something like that. So it was not leaking, but we
How
kind of,
often do you have to do it, do you know?
maybe every 2 or 3 years.
So then you need a budget for it every 2
Every
years.
That's
2 years.
$40,000?
I'm sorry?
How much was that?
42,000.
No,
$42,000 to recoat that thing?
yes. We had them come back and recoat it again. We weren't happy with it. So we wanted to make sure that that coating
They only
was
charged you once. They didn't charge you the second time?
correct.
It was,
This
So we need to
question.
budget.
Right.
It is,
Another
it is
year
in
for
there.
that.
Yeah, it is in there. It's
Okay.
in our strategic, it's in there.
And the
Walter?
building's
Now the-
old, so we need to,
The plumbing work on the water fountains was because of the leak. So we had to go in and replace the water fountains on the second and first floor. And so that's where you see that coming over, because we pulled them both out and replaced them.
The insurance paid part of it. We had to pay
Most
the
of
rest
it,
and
most
there's
of it.
some,
yes.
deductibles. we had
okay,
to take
thank
care
you.
of. I'm sorry, go ahead, Walter.
In understanding it's an aging building and an aging facility, you're going to continue to have maintenance items. However, in review of some of these other line items on here, although they appear healthy in a zero-sum budget, any overages do represent funding that could have gone back
Refunded,
that the entities could have used in their operating budget this year. So while we may increase a budget number for the maintenance items that is increasing, I would ask that staff look closely at some of these others and perhaps, I'm not going to call it a padded budget, but it seems to be, some of these numbers are significantly higher
Excessive.
than they need to
Correct.
be, and that's money that could go back to the entities because this is a zero-sum
course.
budget.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
If I may address for the benefit of the new board members, the Central Appraisal District does not have the legal authority to carry over a fund balance. Most taxing entities, if they have money left at the end of the year, can save it and use it however they want in the future. The Central Appraisal District is, except in very limited circumstances, required to return any excess funds at the end of the year to the taxing entities, and we may not carry a fund balance for any emergencies like what happened with the building. So Mr. Miller is right. Some of our accounts are a little higher than we're expecting because we don't know what's going to happen. But rest assured that if we don't spend that money, it goes back to the taxing entities at the end of the year. And Mr. Miller is right. They don't have the benefit of that money till we return it at the end of the year. But like I said, we don't have a fund balance, so we don't have a reserve of money to pull if something happens, other than our contingency fees or our contingency fund. So that's why you might see a little bit extra left over in the budgeted amount versus the actual. But we do return the money at the end of the year, and for the last several years, we've returned almost $1 million to the entities every year.
And it's returned as a credit onto their next quarterly payment to the district.
And that's commendable for the return of that million, but if it was 200,000, that means there were 700,000 or 800,000 that the entities could be using during that budget year. And yes, I understand you need to pad your budgets a little bit, but it seems to be getting somewhat more than it needs to be.
When is our budget prepared and reviewed?
Our budget's already approved for
I'm
this.
talking about for next year.
It will start being given to the board in March.
But
Oh.
we actually start beginning of January,
Right,
end
but
of
I mean for the
December.
board.
Yeah, for the board, yes.
The
So all
board
I'm
will get
saying
a
is-
draft in March.
When Mr. Miller is saying that when we, because some of you will still be here, almost all of us will still be, that we need to be more scrutinous, and when we review the budget, to be sure that the items, although we need to have a little bit of flexibility, they shouldn't be so flexible that the numbers are perceived to be excessive. Not that they are, but they could be perceived to be. So we just need to be more scrutinous in when we look at the budget in March.
It's not on the agenda, so.
No, well, we're talking about.
Finance.
I think it's a legitimate topic.
financials.
because-
We're talking about
Finances.
an overage on our budget, so
And
that's
so
where this is.
my question is, like, I know that, we have to budget and that we're trying to not go over, but there are, I'm guessing, amounts that we do keep, like, for our election that was not used, that you had to get, and then we don't. So is there any other way that we keep money without having to, per se, take it away from the entities and then have to return it at the end of the year?
What we go to the board in September, and by then we'll have an idea of what type of funds we'll be able to return to the entities. And at that time, we'll ask the board, we have an encumbered fund for litigation, which allows us to put monies in there to fight the lawsuits that are filed against the appraisal district. And we just created last year an encumbered fund for the election. And we also have a line item going into the next budget. So those are the only things that we've encumbered. We're allowed to encumber, but for a very specific purpose and only for that purpose. If it's not utilized for that purpose, then the board can say, you know what, we're not using it, then let's not approve an encumbered fund and put those monies back into the return to the entities. But those are the only two, and that's the only way we can. And the reason we set that up on the election is because we don't know what the cost is going to be going forward. So we wanted to cover it. Once we get it into the budget where it's continuous, then we can go to the board and say, okay, we no longer need that encumbered fund for the election because we have it. We've built up, because we didn't want to put $1 million in there for election and runoff into the budget because it would make the budget go up so much. So that's why we encumbered what we had put aside, what we were able to get out of our contingency for the last year. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, Dinah, remind everybody what the total budget is for the CAD for the year.
I don't have
David?
that.
15 million. It's here. If you look at our,
That's the current,
that's up.
okay. The budget that was approved, you're talking about the one that was approved for going into next year?
Yeah, the whole year, the amount of the yearly budget.
Okay. The current budget is 22 million,
22 million?
and the budget that was approved is 24.
Yeah. So, if we're looking at, returning about $1 million or a little less than $1 million, you're probably talking about, less than 5% for sure. So I don't think but we should, like you said, we should take a little bit closer, but I don't think it's out of line if it's less than 5%.
And remember that overage goes, the percentage that the entities pay into our budget is the percentage of the monies left over that they get back.
Yes.
Okay. We will look at all of this, and we do take, that's why we bring the financials to the board, so we can have this
Now-
discussion
How
of
much
the
do we normally
financials.
return back to the entities? It's not even $1 million, is it?
that's kind of a total, but when you divide it, say the city was at 25%, El Paso ISD like at 22%. I think county was 16%, so it's a percent. And that amount is in your budget. So when you're looking at your budget, the amount, so those of you that are new to the board, you have a copy of our budget. One of the back pages will show you the percentage that the entities pay into, and it's quarterly. So there are times in the year where we don't have a lot of funds, but everybody's making their payments, then we have them. So we always have to make sure, like if it happens during the middle of the summer, you'll see we have to estimate how many hearings we're going to have. And I'll get into how many hearings we had in the director's report.
You know, and the other thing that I know it's hard for us to budget now is those elections because there could be a runoff. We don't know what's going to happen next year. But
Well-
we're trying to do that. We've got that on our legislative agenda at the county, and I'm sure others. We've already talked to the legislative delegation about that. And I'm thinking that it's going to be positive with the rest of people. I don't think they want to spend extra for that. Just let whoever, you know, if 3 people run in the same position, just whoever gets the most votes, not that they have to get over 50%. And that would save the constituents a lot of money.
The other thing on elections, if we could possibly do it, is run it with concurrently with other elections.
Absolutely.
And it
That will
will.
reduce the cost more
Absolutely.
than anything.
Get rid of them? Get rid of them?
Let me say, let
The
me just,
next one is in 2026, and it's in November.
I just
So we'll
want
be
to
able
add
to split
one more
it.
thing.
Piggyback off a
It's
lot
a
of
lot
people
better to give it. There's no way that we can go back to the entities if we're short and ask to cover an expense like fixing the roof. I mean, we're a lot better off giving it back to them than having to go back to the entities in the middle of the year and say, we're short, we need more money. Because at that point, we're beyond help. So the answer is, yes, I don't like that we have a lot of excess, but at the end of the day, as I think Sergio said, it's only 5%. And we give it back. We do give it back. We do have a zero-based budget. So at the end of the day, we don't keep any of it. And so they will get back whatever extra they've given us. And guess what? We go right back next year and we ask them. And it's a lot better to ask at the beginning than to ask in the middle of the year.
That's why I always have Rosa, and Rosa does this in her financial report, to let you know we're still very strong and very much in the black in our budget. We're still very, very good in our budget. And we still have June's, July's, August, and September that will come out of the budget, some of the
This
expenses.
is only through the end of May. Any other questions of Rosa?
Thank you.
As always, Rosa, thank you so much. We need a motion to approve this subject to audit.
So moved.
To approve? Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Let's go to our next agenda item, that is,
What's the tab?
okay,
5.
number 5. I can get to my thing. Discussion and possible action regarding our health and dental insurance carrier.
Mr. Dennis? Thank you.
You can see the supportive stuff, I think, is in here.
Hello, my name is Michael Dennis. This is Miss Annette Almanza. We are from Compass Benefits. We help the district with the employee benefits. October 1, your health and dental insurance is renewing, and the health insurance is going up by 7.4%, and your dental insurance is staying the same. We went out to the insurance market for both health and dental, and for the health insurance, we received 0 proposals. You might wonder, why did we receive 0 proposals from competitors to Blue Cross Blue Shield? Well, for the past 2 years, you, as the district, have received rate reductions, okay? Your rates with the renewal is still lower than your 2021 medical insurance rates. And the insurance companies that's competing with Blue Cross Blue Shield pretty much told us we can't compete with that. So our recommendation for the health insurance is to remain with Blue Cross Blue Shield for another year. On the dental insurance side, we went out to the market and we did receive 5 proposals. 4 of them are in line with the renewal from Blue Cross Blue Shield. One insurance company, United Concordia, did come out about $4 lower. all right? However, it's our recommendation to still stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's because both the health and dental insurance is a packaged deal. By having dental with your health insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield, the district receives a 1% health insurance discount. That's about $7.75 per person lower if you were to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So even though we received a lower quote from United Concordia, it's better to stay with with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So our recommendation for the health insurance is to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield also.
Just a quick,
Need a
Yes, sir.
motion?
just a quick clarification.
Well, let's get a motion so that we can discuss it. Right? We need a motion to either stay or,
Move to discuss.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead, you have a question anyway, go ahead and answer.
I mean, I don't know if I want to vote to approve this. if
I know,
don't have-
we just need a motion.
No, and it's not a serious.
Yes.
It's, was this a renewal or are we taking up an option of another year? Blue Cross Blue Shield.
It is a renewal. Blue Cross's offer is the rates given to you.
Okay,
in
when
the-
you said we had 0 responses,
From other insurance companies.
but you did have one from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes, they are offering you the renewal.
The renewal at the same rate.
No, that's for the dental.
But, okay, they're offering us a renewal. That would mean they're continuing the same contract that they have?
Yes, for
Okay, so
both the
they
health
didn't,
and the dental insurance.
you didn't ask them to provide another quote per se?
Through Blue Cross?
Yes.
You mean with lower benefits?
Generally, when we go out for it, when we have an RFQ that goes out like this, request for proposal, depending on what the contract says, regardless of who has it, they submit a new offer.
The new offer is the renewal.
The new offer.
Okay, a renewal to me in a contract is, your contract says you
Maintaining.
have an option. The
They don't ha- I
renewal
don't
would
think-
be an option.
So Walter, I don't think we had a multi-year contract. We had
No, we
a
have
one-year
year-to-year.
contract.
1 year.
And
Each
it
and every
ended.
year they
So they are
renew.
giving
Okay,
us.
so their offer was the same offer that they had the
Exactly.
last time.
Right.
Benefits wise, yes.
Yes.
Rate wise, the health
It was
insurance is going up by 7.4%.
Thank you.
Yes.
When you said zero responses,
Right, I
I'm going,
heard.
Yeah.
Yes, from other carriers. We went out to the insurance market, and other carriers like United Healthcare, Cigna, did not provide us a competitive quote.
okay, that's what
I
needed to
apologize for.
And their contract ended, we had no contract.
We're-
At the
we're
end of the year,
year to
we're
year.
out of it.
There was no option year.
There was no option.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we offer only one plan? Is there a PPO and HMO? Is there a,
We don't have
High
enough
deductible.
employees to divide into multiple plans. It's just one plan,
We have 100 employees,
150.
150 employees.
but we couldn't,
Nobody
Competitively
responded. We
offer-
only had one company even respond to our RFP, and that was Blue Cross. Cigna didn't even respond, I guess. You didn't get a response.
We went out to Cigna each and every year for the past over 10 years, and they have always declined.
It's like we have one bank because no other bank will respond to
Yeah.
our RFP. So it's the same thing. We've only got one insurance company that actually responds, except in dental where you had two. But I hear your point, and it's probably better for all of our employees to have one policy by one carrier, even though the difference may be $4 on one side, we gain back 7 on the other. So it's
It actually hurts you
I
by
heard
moving
you.
Yeah,
to another.
it actually pays for
But we
the
do need a
benefit.
motion.
do we offer vision and other supplemental?
I'm sorry?
Do we offer vision and other supplemental insurances? Or is it just
Do we offer vision?
health and?
Yes.
dental?
Yes, we do.
That renews in January, but you have a multi-year contract with your vision
So
plan.
that's not up for renewal, so that's why we haven't discussed it.
Supplemental stuff, like accidental and short-term and long-term disability?
We have that.
Yes. And that's not coming up until January also.
It's just not due.
Okay, I move to approve.
Well,
for-
you need to be more specific. You need to say, I move.
No, that's where I'm headed.
All right.
I move to approve for medical Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and for dental, Blue Cross, Blue Shield.
For both.
For both entities, yeah, for both insurance carriers.
Is there a second? Now, discussion. Now, is there any discussion on this?
How long is the contract?
1 year.
1 year.
For 1 year.
And only, all these companies only give you a year.
So my question then was, if we would have gone with United Concordia, Blue Cross would have gone up because they're giving us a multi-discount.
Yes. So your health insurance rate will go up by $7.75. So even though you're saving $4 on the dental, you're losing $7.75.
You're losing
Makes
$3.
sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So overall, you're losing $3 per employee.
It's like when you insure your house and your car, you get a multi-car discount.
Yes, exactly. Like a bundle package through Farmers or Allstate.
That
Do we
makes
have more
sense.
employees, an employee only, or employee with spouse, or employee with children? Where's the
Yes,
majority of the?
we do have multi-tiered structure for the rates.
Where's the majority of the employees? Where do they?
I'm
Employee
sorry?
only.
Where do they
can't
fall?
hear
It's employee only.
Employee only.
Yes,
We only have a few that are spouses or families. Because we insure everyone, we pay the rate, it's 100% participation. If we did a study here a few years ago, doing it the other way, it would double what our rate per person is. So this is the best plan. So in doing that, then employees have to cover their spouses and their families. We do have a rate in there for them that we also look at, trying to keep at a reasonable rate, but we only have just a few people that have that.
Any other questions? All right, then we'll call a question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for helping us. All right, we just have 2 more items, the bylaws. Are we going to have action? Do we have anybody that? You've all gotten a copy of the revised bylaws or the current bylaws to see if there are any additional revisions. My thought is that maybe we ought to take another month to really go over them again, unless, right?
The bylaws were updated to include the changes that happen in legislation. So your bylaws have not been updated to include those changes. So that's why you see about the tax code and where it's coming from. It's up to the board. I mean, you can postpone it to do another time.
It's up to you guys. Honestly, I asked that they redline it, and it was redlined for you, so you can see what the differences are. And those differences are specifically related to the new legislation that revised the way we operate. And so we're just incorporating those changes into our bylaws. There's nothing in there that we're including locally. It's just stuff that we have to include based on the legislation.
And you can adjust your bylaws at any time.
So it's up to you. We can either accept them now unless you want more time to look them over, and if you do, we'll wait.
And it doesn't matter when we do it, other than probably not good practice continually revising your bylaws, but in reviewing this, perhaps there's a couple of things that we should consider that we have done in other jurisdictions. There is no provision here for how we handle virtual attendance in meetings. That could be something that could be incorporated.
Zoom, you're talking about like a Zoom meeting.
And if we are going, we don't have to allow that. We can allow that, but it needs to be. We have to have a majority present to conduct business, but there can be participation from
Why don't we do
virtually.
this? Why don't we go ahead and approve these changes? And we can always amend the bylaws next month again and add those additional provisions. But I think this cleans us up as far as the legislation is concerned. And then I think we need a committee, and we actually created a committee with you on it, that would look over the bylaws to see about adding additional provisions. So my thought is, let's get this done, because it needs to get done, whether we do it this month or next month or forever. These are issues that are forced on us by the new
I
legislation.
understand that, but.
And then we'll go back and we'll look at the bylaws.
Well, as I said, it's probably not good practice to amend your bylaws every 30 minutes.
Monthly. It's
So
not.
another issue that I had looked at here is this suggests that we follow Robert's Rules of Order. We haven't done that ever. I don't know that anybody has ever done that ever. We should look at alternate language there, perhaps. In general accordance is I don't know what the wording would. We'll leave that to the lawyers, but nobody ever follows Robert's Rules of Order to the letter. Not even our state legislators. 'Cause
So if you want, we can incorporate
You'd have
those
to be here
to change. We
going
can
through the
incorporate.
book.
Do you want more time to go over this? Do you want to just vote on this? Or do you want, it's up to you.
We do have a
If
section
you
under
look at
1.6 that says we follow
It
Robert's
says,
rules.
shall be conducted by Robert's Rules of
And
Order.
I'm not sure that that's a good idea.
Oh,
Okay.
you think that that may not be the way
Oh,
we want
okay.
it?
I don't think that we can consistently follow Robert's Rules of Order. Nobody has in ever. It is a very complicated, very structured system that if you say you're gonna do it, you should do it. And if you don't, you leave yourself open to contest.
So I'll tell you what's really funny is I memorized Robert's Rules of Order when I was 100 years ago.
But
And the reality
if
is
you-
that's why I said that we needed a motion, which is in Robert's Rules of Order, that we need a
Exactly.
motion to have discussion.
Right.
That was exactly why I was
agree.
bringing that up, because it's in Robert's Rules of Order.
And,
Go ahead.
and I was gonna say that is in Robert's rules, but I think for the
Absolutely.
majority, we do follow it pretty good. I kinda like it being in there.
But, okay, but my question, and it'll go to the attorneys, if we don't follow Robert's Rules of Order per line item, then that opens us up to contest.
I think the question is whether not following Robert's Rules of Order to the letter, whether it impacts any of the actions taken by this board. I do not believe that to be the case. And I will be happy to do a primer or a presentation on following rules of
It's gonna hurt your head.
But to your specific question, the failure to adhere to them on a point-by-point basis, I do not believe it will impact any of the decisions that you make here.
Unless we had challenge.
Challenge, perhaps if you get a challenge, but I don't know what the basis of that would be. Because you're meeting in an open meeting, there are motions, seconds, discussion, and action.
Because we're not following our bylaws.
How would the board feel, and Mr. Miller, if we appointed a parliamentarian and had them?
I
because
want that. I agree with that.
There's a master parliamentarian class. It's like 50.
And you may have got on this, I have
Complex.
gone through this discussion before at least twice, and
I've always thought because we had an attorney present, he was our parliamentarian, but one of the things we do have is, we had committees we set up, and one of the committees was a committee to discuss the bylaws. So I don't want to belabor this because I got to get you out of here. So the answer is, if you want to postpone this until the next meeting, or do you want to pass this the way it's been presented?
It's fine, you need to pass it.
I think we do too. All right, do I have a motion then to pass these changes in the bylaws?
So moved.
Second, I think Shane
Second.
seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If you
Who made
have
the
other
motion?
changes.
You need to tell me, because they can't. Who made the motion? Mr.
The
Flores?
motion was made by Sergio and seconded by Shane. And that's what, I also want to point out that Shane Haggerty is now present and part of our quorum.
And tardy, no, not really.
All right, any other discussion on that? Okay, this one's gonna take a while, I hope not, but maybe it will. Okay, number 7 is the discussion of possible action on the proposed reappraisal plan. It was 110 pages, I read through it. I don't know if you all read through it, we did send it out to you.
Board members, the reappraisal plan is something that is required by the Texas Property Tax Code, was passed by legislation several years ago. And basically what it is it is our scope of work for the next 2 years. It gives a listing of areas that will be looked at, the different employees that we have. So what is in here has been reviewed in the past by our field reviewer in the comptroller's office to pass our methods and procedures maps review that the comptroller does every other year. So this one is updating it for the next 2 years. There will be areas, example, Horizon, that we will be visiting with people 3 to 4 times during each year to watch for any growth, any extensions in, say, water or services. So that is kind of an ongoing. The reappraisal plan talks about some specific areas that we will be looking at in the next 2 years and following. Now, a reappraisal plan is just a scope of work. A scope of work can be adjusted. It all depends on legislation. This has been updated by the legislation that we had, not this summer, but last summer. And legislation is going to be next summer. So if we see that there's a lot of changes in legislation that it makes us change, or we have to change the reappraisal plan, then we'll come to the board to update the reappraisal plan at that time. So it's basically our scope of work that we have had for years and have to have, and it's just updating it for the next 2 years.
Any questions?
Again, and I
That's fine, no, that's
apologize for being, and our chief appraiser spoke to it. We have a unique, not a unique, but a special situation in El Paso County that I don't see classified in this list of classifications. And I'm just throwing it out there as a consideration, is to form another classification of property so that there is some way that we can understand the real value of that property.
That is something that we can look at without putting it in the plan.
And we can adopt it, we can
Because-
adjust this plan.
Because it's part of our
agree with
reappraisal
that.
process, that we'll be looking at those specific properties based on the changes. Again, like I said, we contact multiple times during the year the parties that are involved to see where we stand at that. And as soon as that changes, then we will immediately make changes to it. But we can't do that until those parties tell us that those changes have been put in.
But as a general classification, can you not look at the minimum value of that land and see if it's changed?
That's part of the overall reappraisal plan for that area, for that entire area. Yes, sir.
I mean, that
That's
hasn't
already there.
happened in 30 years. Maybe it would happen.
Well, it all has to do with water accessible, and we can't do anything until we're told that they've released the water. So that's why we look at that every year. But the rest of the community is part of that plan going forward. I know, Mr. Miller, where you speak of, and I assure you, we are constantly on top of that. So I don't want to limit us.
I'll quit after this one,
Yeah.
but there's property out there that was valued with a value in 1960 or 1970, and those properties have not been revalued. Every other property in the county has been reappraised, and the values have risen. That particular set of property has maintained the same value, regardless of inflation, regardless of everything else, for the last 30 years. And I'm saying that
Where?
there's 30,000 lots
No,
on
no,
the
there's
east
a
side
lot. But we have parameters.
that are valued at $500 apiece.
Oh.
They have been for,
On the other side of Horizon by
and
the
my
settlement.
contention is, if they were $500 in 1970, they should be something else.
They're a couple thousand now.
In
We're governed by parameters that are set.
30 years later, regardless of what you use, land goes up in value.
Well, they've gone up some, I will say that, because they're not at the 1 cent or minus 1 cent that they were
Are
before.
we talking like
Desert.
over in the
We're
Shadow
talking
Mountain
desert.
Horizon,
Estates?
past Horizon.
We're talking
By the
those
Shadow
deserts,
Mountain
yes, where they cut in and
Yes,
never did
But
anything.
the problem with that too, though, some of it that hasn't gone up is a lot of it's landlocked.
It can't be, well, that's part of the
Well,
problem.
here, and I don't want to get, but we are talking about the reappraisal plan, so I can get into this. State passed legislation that hinders us from appraising lots. It's called Section 1001 of the tax code, that we're not allowed to appraise lots because they're not contiguous. They can't sell a lot if there's no water. So we can't, now, there are some developers that are going in and doing this, but some of that is illegal, and we cannot change value. So that's one reason why in the reappraisal plan for that area, it's general. That doesn't mean we're not looking at that, Mr. Miller, and we are. And we're constantly talking to the water authority out there to make sure, where have you extended this? What has changed? We're looking at legislation to see if they've changed that House Bill 1001 to allow for somebody. So they're buying up things that are maybe not legally being bought up, and we can't follow like an illegal subdivision. So it does hinder us, it does tie our hands, but it is something that we do look at constantly. And we just spoke with the water department just in June, the water authority out there, and they assured us, no, they are not allowing connections.
I have one objection to your statement, that you cannot appraise them. you already have appraised them.
Yes.
They have a value.
Yes, we can't appraise a minimal value, yes.
Right.
That's my point. That
Right.
minimum
What he's saying
should
is that
stay
minimum
at the
should be
same
higher.
place.
It hasn't changed.
More
From what you're
realistic, more
saying,
realistic.
The value should be zero.
No, we have a minimal value on there.
Okay, so why hasn't the minimal value changed?
I see what you're
As,
saying.
because
thinks it
of
needs to be more
inflation,
realistic.
because of everything else. Everybody else's land appraisal has gone up.
The reason properties go up is because there is now a market for them. There is people that are wanting those. Utilities are now there that they can get to. There's roads there. There's a change in that property that means for that.
No.
Though these,
My house was appraised with all of those things, and then 3 years later, it was reappraised.
Yes.
So all of those, nothing changed. That's my point.
the market in houses did change.
The market changes,
raw land,
land, raw land changes.
Okay, but these are restricted, so they're not sellable as individual lots because there is no water. It's that House bill that restricts it. I will assure you, we're constantly watching that. We are always looking at that to change that. And I will assure you, we will be looking at again in 2025, in 2026. We will follow that, yes, sir. And we will see if there is any activity at all. Remember, we just can't go in and arbitrarily raise something because we think it's been too low for too long. We have to have information that shows that a change is warranted. Bring me some information, Mr. Miller, and I'll be happy to change it.
Well, I have.
Well, but it's not,
Is it part of our plan to at least look at those properties that are landlocked and that may not have any potable water, but look at them to see whether their values are
Part
in
of our
line?
plan is to
Even
look
though
at
they
all-
are restricted, where they may have a value increase that we have not accounted for.
Part of our plan is to look at all land, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Is it just a plan to wait and see what happens, or is there a way or an avenue to talk with our legislators to see, is this something that you can put forth on the?
It's been brought up before, and I'm sure, I know the county before has brought it up to the legislature about changing those. I don't think it's a priority with the legislator. I don't know the legislation. I know Mr. Miller has visited with representatives regarding that in that area because that is the Horizon area.
It is a matter of time because they will eventually straighten out. I mean, he's just saying in the interim, we're losing tax revenue to those entities.
Millions of dollars.
That's what he's saying. But it will straighten out because those properties are going to get absorbed into the growth. They're going to receive the services that they need in order for us to assess. And perhaps what we should do is take into account all the years that these people sat on these properties at low. And when we do have them available to be assessed, we can assess them at a higher value to recover the monies that we lost while we were.
A lot of these properties were sold during the Billy Solestis time to people that live in Germany. They were military, and those are the 1001s. Now, the ones that are closer into the city of Horizon that now have services, yes. We don't just sit and wait for something to happen, Mr. Haggerty. We do go out and we visit every year, a couple of times during the year to see where that growth is going, where they've extended utilities, where they've extended roads, where they're doing some building, where there's some activity. And so, yes, we do update those. We do upvalue those.
I apologize, I wasn't trying to say that we're not.
No, I just wanted to make, yeah.
Is there already something in the works? Do we have a concerted effort to talk to our legislators and say, this is something that is important to us? Is this
That's
something
for
that
the entities to do. We just follow what the code
We need a
says.
motion.
I need to disagree with that also. Yes, it is something for the entities to do. But I think this board, I mean, it's millions of dollars that is not coming to
The entities.
the entities. And
Like
as our assessors, I realize we can't tell you how to assess, but it should be one of our focuses on that we are missing out on literally millions of dollars.
The problem is that the legislature said that on small lots, they cannot be sold unless they have water. And as long as they can't be sold, the market value is basically zero. Now, we put a $500 nominal value on it because no land is worth nothing unless it has, like, pollution that would cost more to clean up than the land is worth. But the problem is, we are not allowed by law to appraise that except as that it can't be sold, because we're required by the state legislature to follow generally accepted appraisal procedures, and one of them is the use of the land legally permissible? And if excuse me, if it can't be sold, sorry, I apologize, I'm dry.
It is a very big problem area for everybody.
Well, the dichotomy here is they are being sold as we speak constantly.
For values above $500.
Way above. We're looking at $2, $4 a foot on lots in the middle of nowhere. Those sales are being recorded. That ownership is being changed. Everybody is recognizing it. All of the title companies will provide title insurance on it.
Will they?
Yes,
On a sale, so they can be sold.
they can be
I
sold.
was gonna say,
And
Can I say something?
yes.
I hate to interrupt you, but dealing with the specificity of these specific properties, I think is going outside the scope of
Assessing the appraisal plan.
reappraisal plan. I think the specific properties and how they are appraised is already addressed in the appraisal plan. We're sticking with specificity of how to appraise these properties, especially at the board level, and how to assess these properties from a value standpoint, I think goes beyond the scope of the reappraisal plan. I don't think the board has the authority, and I'll be blunt, to place restrictions or expand definitions and requirements that are placed by the state and legislature on appraising a specific property. We're speaking about very specific properties here, and I would urge the district, the board, to allow the chief appraiser to include this in the reappraisal plan, which he has, and report back to the board with the development of any legislative restrictions, which is what y'all are facing here with. It's a restricted legislative action that prevents her from going out and placing a higher value on this. And this board does not have the authority.
No, I think his question, to be fair, I think his question was, is it part of the plan? And her answer was, yes, it is. Is it part of the plan? And can we get a report in the future?
Yes.
To see how we're pursuing that particular part of that plan?
Yes.
But is it part of the plan? So as we discuss accepting the plan, he wants to be sure that that is part of the plan
And it is.
that we're about to accept or not
And I
accept.
just want to make sure that there's no directive.
There's no individual, because I hear what you're going.
Okay, right.
This is not a specific piece of property or any specific piece of property.
This is based on maybe being
This
cautious
is-
as to what has happened in other
Oh,
appraisal districts
sorry.
where there are boards who issued specific directives, and I want to make sure.
This is generic. We're looking
So
at it
we don't
generic.
have the authority, but who does?
Is it within the scope to discuss it? That's what he's asking. That's his question.
Chief appraiser has the ultimate authority to appraise the property based on the
Whatever
restrictions,
criteria she uses to.
whatever criteria they have, and limitations and guidance set in the reappraisal plan.
But it is under our purview to ask that the appraisal district participate in an effort to get a definition of changes in reality.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We can do
Because
that.
you're talking about a rule that was enacted 20 years ago, and
Yes.
does not reflect the current condition, and it's the taxing entities that are being punished for that.
Correct. I agree with you.
Within your
Well, following Robert's Rules of Order,
Mr.
we
Chairman,
need a motion so that
Chairman.
we can discuss the
Mr.
motion.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept the 2025, 2026 appraisal plan
As presented.
as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
you got
I got it.
Okay, we've got second. Did you get who made the motion? Now is there discussion? Following Robert's Rules of Order, which I happen to know. If there's any other discussion, now is your time. If not, let's go ahead and call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. But there is a directive that you give us a
Yes.
report to clarify.
Thank you, board members, I will. I've
All
written
right,
it
those
down
are
right
the
here.
only items that require action. Let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance and honor the Texas flag. So we'll say a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. We have a couple of presentations we'd like to make to some staff members who have dedicated really their lives to this effort, to the effort of the Appraisal District. So if I could call forward Patricia Quintero.
Ms. Quinteros has been with us for 40 years. She was one of the originals that started here, and she works in our accounting department. Rosa Goldman is her supervisor, and she handles payroll, so treat her nice.
So let me read the certificate that we have. Get a load of this. This is a certificate of appreciation, and that is with a capital A, in recognition of 40 years of dedicated service to Patricia Quinteros. Patricia, thank you on behalf of the citizens of El Paso County, thank you for the dedication you've made to our lives, to make our lives better. Thank you. 40 years. He's not even 40 years old yet. All right.
Congratulations.
May I pass it on?
Congratulations.
All right, Patricia, here is your certificate. You can hold it, you can show it, they'll take a picture of you. Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. We'll see you in 3 more weeks. I'll be back in your 8. All right, Eduardo Perez. This is the baby. This is the baby of the two, okay?
Mr. Pettis is in charge of our group of appraisers that fight our lawsuits, that do all of the research, try to look up everything that we can, have mediations, and work with property tax agents that file those lawsuits and individuals. And he keeps a pretty tight ship. As you can tell, he made them all come. So Eddie, thank you so much.
So let me read the certificate. It says, Certificate of Appreciation by the El Paso Central Appraisal District in recognition of 30 years of dedicated service. He still has 10 years to catch up to her, okay? To Eduardo Perez. We'll see you in 30 years. Okay. I will give you the 60th one. Okay, thank you all for that. Is there any public comment?
No, sir, there is not.
Okay, watch, we can drop all the way down to number 8. Is Tracy here? Yes, she is. First and foremost, on behalf of this whole board, Tracy, on behalf of this whole city, our hearts go out to you, our feelings are with you. We appreciate you and what you do for this, but we appreciate so much you being here, and we're so sorry on the loss of your mother. All of us felt it, and we all just want to know we commend you, and we pray that her memory always be for a blessing for all of those who were lucky enough to get to know her.
Thank you so much. Thank everybody for the love and support. It was a big loss for me and my family.
Now that he's made
I know.
I don't want to make you cry. I don't want to make you cry. You'll cry when the ARB meets. That's when you can cry, but not now.
Well, good evening, Board of Directors. Tracy Carter, Taxpayer Liaison Officer. You all have blue folders in front of you. If you all can please pull those out. We did receive the 2023 Appraisal Review Board survey results for the state, and I did break down the numbers for the El Paso County. And for our new Board of Directors meeting, new Board of Directors, I'll just like to inform you that the State Comptroller developed a survey for giving the public an opportunity to offer comments and suggestions pertaining to the fairness and efficiency of the Appraisal Review Board. So this year, we got 763 surveys compared to 519 last year. And the ARB results for 2023 with the strongly agree and agree combined, courteous, they were at 92%, attentive, 92%, knowledgeable, 86%, organized, 91%, fair, 78%. Property owners were asked, how was the ARB hearing process? Were they informative hearing procedures? 89%. Hearing procedures followed, 93.5%. Prompt service, 94%. Reasonable time to present evidence, 86%. Evidence considered thoughtfully, 78%. Protest determination stated clearly was at 88%. Based on the 2023 survey, the overall impression of the Appraisal Review Board, the majority was excellent and good. We combine those answers, we have 82%. The ARB lowered the values out of 742 responses, 81% this past year, which was a difference from last year, an 8.5% increase from last year. The suggestions for the ARB is that the property owners agreed that communication with the appraisal district before the ARB hearing was helpful. 98% agreed that the majority of the property owners like having the meeting with the appraisal, but the informal meeting with the appraisal district before they come to the appraisal review board members. 68% of the property owners preferred to have enough time in their hearing to present the case. Instead of it starting on time, they'd rather have enough time to present their case. 54% felt as 10 to 15 minutes were enough time to present their evidence. 23% felt that they needed more than 15 minutes to present their evidence. And 23% felt that it can be less than 10 minutes. The ARB usually gives 15 minutes for each hearing. 86% of the property owners said that they should be allowed to file their protests electronically, which we do offer. Conclusion, the majority of property owners responding to the survey agreed or strongly agreed that the ARB was courteous, attentive, knowledgeable, organized, and fair. The majority of property owners reported an excellent overall impression of the Appraisal Review Board, that the ARB hearing procedures were informative, they followed the procedures, the service was prompt, the property owners had enough time to present their evidence, and that the ARB considered their evidence thoughtfully, and the ARB stated the protest determination clearly. So a majority of the property owners indicated the ARB lowered their value. The majority of the property owners filling out the survey are first-time protesters, while the total number of property owners' response to the comptroller's ARB survey changes every year. There is minor variances in the responses received from 2019 to 2023. The ARB did an excellent job. They worked endlessly to hear all the protests and meet the deadlines, along with the staff of the Central Appraisal District. We did receive 2 administrative complaints, which was great. I think last year I presented about 6, but this year we had 2. One of them, a property owner, she believed she was not given an equitable or fair opportunity to present her case to the Appraisal Review Board. The Central Appraisal District representative was given control of how the evidence was presented. So what happens there is on this screen, the ARB does ask the property owners to pass their evidence over to the Central Appraisal District so that the Central Appraisal District will to present it on the screen. So the property owner felt it was unfair because the appraiser was flipping through their slides, through the pictures of repairs. So while I heard the case, I did see that there was confusion on both the ARB's part and the property owner's part. So I did speak to the chairman of the Appraisal Review Board, and he had agreed to rehear the case. So that was reheard, and along with one of the property owner's concerns was that she stated that 2 years ago she had asked for a sign language interpreter for the deaf, and that we had said we're not able to find one. But what she did ask for was she wanted the hearing to be done by Zoom, and she asked for closed caption. And that part she was able to enable on her part of the computer to get the closed caption. And she did manage to come in. She came in, she had a formal meeting with the appraiser, and she did see the Appraisal Review Board. And they did come to an agreement on settlement in 2022, which she was concerned about. Another administrative complaint was we had a property owner that had some mobile homes, and he felt like the ARB did not take consideration of any of the evidence that he provided. He provided estimates, he provided pictures, he also provided like an appraisal document. But on that document, it did have a name of who appraised the mobile home, but didn't have the date or when it was done. So I felt, after listening to that hearing, I felt that the ARB did take consideration of the evidence that he was presenting, and they did lower the value. So consideration was given to this property owner. And another one of my concerns is that I did receive some phone calls from an attorney. He was a retired judge. He did come in. He did talk to me about he wasn't happy with this appraisal review board hearing. And I did explain to him that I'll be more than happy to listen to the case. And if I did find that there's any procedural problems, I'll ask the ARB chairman to listen to it. So that way they can decide whether they need to rescind the hearing or not. The property owner told me no, that they did not want to go back to the ARB. They were not going to go back to the ARB, that he'll just take it to district court. And he says, I know there is a section in the law that the chief appraiser needs to meet with me, and we needed to come to a settlement. And I told him, okay. I said, you do know the process. You can take it to arbitration. He refused. He said, I'm taking it to district court. Okay, that's fine, sir. So I did speak to Ms. Kilgore about it, the situation, and then I did call him and I left a message letting him know, thank you, Mr. Aguilar, to speak to the appraiser. You know, you did have your opportunity. You did meet with the appraisal district staff member to try to come to a settlement in your formal meeting. If you like, you can go ahead and you can take it to district court. So he wrote several letters to me to write back to him to state what I had mentioned on the phone call. And I did not do that. He does know the process. He is a judge, he's an attorney, so he knows the process of how, if you're in disagreement with the appraisal review board value. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, got a little bit more. Currently, we are working on the Truth in Taxation website for all the entities, and the advertisement for the appraisal review board applicants will be in the Paso Times on August 18th, September 1st, September 15th, El Paso Inc., September 1st, the audio, September 1st, the CAD website, and I'm already contacting the community organizations. Does anybody have any questions?
2 comments. First of all, I'm involved with my neighborhood association. Believe it or not, there was some email that went out today telling everybody to try to help you get people onto the
Yes.
ARB. So we did, all of the neighborhood associations all over the city are trying to solicit additional people to help serve. And I just wonder if in the course of these appeals that people make, I mean, you had a guy that was upset about the fact that there was a $3,000 variance between what we assessed and what he wanted. Do they understand that $3,000 represents $90 a year? I mean,
I do my best to try to explain that to them.
it's $90 a year. I mean, they're thinking they're saving $3,000. They're saving $90. And to threaten to go to district court over $90, it's going to cost them more to file the suit than it is that they're going to save in the appeal. So I just wonder whether or not that's brought as a part of the process to let them know that we're only 3% of that value. That's
Yes.
all we're talking about.
Of course. I try to explain everything to them to give them a better understanding of the process.
Any questions of Tracy? This is a very dedicated person. We thank Tracy
She
very
is.
much
She
for what
does a great
Thank you.
job always.
every
Thank you,
single
Tracy.
day, not every single month. Thank you, Tracy. All right, guess what? We got to you.
Got to
It's all
be, all
yours.
right. Okay, board members, one thing, you have the latest appraisal district director's manual from the comptroller's office. It was March of 2024. It says March 2024, but I think it just went out. But that's your manual that you follow, that the state comptroller puts together of what a director can and cannot do.
Please
And
take
it's
it
got
with
the,
you. Take it with
yes,
you.
put it in your book that you have, from us, if you would do that. I wanted to let you know that our staff had 286 backpacks with school supplies that were donated to Tornillo. ISD. And so they were very, very appreciative, and they went and handed them out to the kids. So we were very, very excited that we were able to do that much with the school supplies. I had told you that I was going to give you a report when I sent you the emails during the summer. We did certify at just a little over 99% of the roll was certified on July 25th. Well, actually, we did it afternoon of July 24th. So we surprised some of the entities that they got it kind of early. They're like, oh, wow, okay. Now we have to start working. We had a little over 46,000 protests. Last year we had 42. So we had about 4,000, about 4,500 more protests this year than we had last year. That's why we kind of always do a little extra. So we had more panels meeting earlier and staying later. So we had a pretty good turnout for that. Some of the comments, we did have about 99% excellent and good on the employee evaluations from the public. On the fair and poor, we handle those immediately. If it's something that needs to be turned over to our liaison officer, it's turned over to her. If it's something that manager of a department can call and settle. So most of those were settled. People that just didn't quite understand the process, we were able to settle. But I have some things I'd like to read to you that were actually written down either in an email or they mailed it to us. They took the time. And I have a comment that said that everybody was friendly and helpful. I'm 65, so I've seen a few government offices in my day. It's significant when I say it was the best government customer service experience in my life. Another one was I couldn't say enough good things about everyone who had assisted. A very positive experience. She featured that everyone she encountered, saw, or overheard assisting others, had a positive attitude, were friendly and smiling, wanted to make sure we knew how special and unique the service was. From the moment they walked in, the assistance with them on their purpose of their visit was wonderful. Everyone was nice, polite, caring, and kind. I witnessed how others were being treated with respect and consideration. Everyone was supportive through the process. Thank you for treating people like this, especially old people. I thought that was kind of cute because I'm in that. Wanted administration to know what a great organization EPCAD is for customer service. Complimented the front desk on being efficient and guiding this person where they needed to go. Complimented some of the other departments on the friendliness and on the openness and assisting them. Was very happy with customer service. So that was some of the outside comments. We did get some very negatives, but we took care of those. And again, I don't want to read those. They're maybe a little censored. Wanted to let you know that overall, like I said, we did certify some of the entities, almost all the entities had an increase. What we did find out in legislative changes, the circuit breaker, remember we talked to the board about the circuit breaker, that was the 20% cap on non-residential property. Countywide, for the county of El Paso, it was a little over $1 billion loss in value. So we're not sure what, it's a pilot program. I know legislation, may be looking at it this year. They may wait. It was a 3-year pilot program. So we did want to let you know about that.
It's a potential loss because we don't know how many of those would have been challenged as well.
True.
So it's a potential $1 billion loss.
Well, this is after the certification.
On valuation,
Yeah.
not
on dollars.
tax.
This is on value. Yeah, it depends on what rate they apply. But we took the county number and kind of gave you an idea. It may be less in different entities, but that's kind of county-wide that we wanted to tell. Please, I wanted to let y'all know the change in the board of directors, and I'm sure the attorneys in the training is going to talk to you about it. On July 12th, we sent letters to all of the taxing entities explaining the new way of appointing the board of directors and giving them the numbers of votes that they will have available to them. It went out to all of the cities, municipalities, and the school districts, and the El Paso Community College. So they all received the letters by resolution, and it explains to them the deadlines and by resolution of getting that information back to the appraisal district of who they want to nominate And then we'll send within so many weeks, I think it's 2 weeks, to the entities, the list of the nominees. Again, we'll send a letter explaining the process with the list of the nominees. And then at that point, by resolution, they'll vote. So the first letter went out July 12th, reminding the entities. We visited with everybody back in March, but this is reminding them. Mr. Mena, Mr. Gonzalez, and Ms. Jimenez, this doesn't count for you three because you are the elected, but for the rest of our board, for 5 board members, it will count for. And other than that, unless the board has any questions of me, that kind of gets you up to date.
Any questions? Well, I do want to announce that we're intending to go to Denver. You might want to mention that.
Oh, yes, thank you. That's very important.
I just thought you might want to.
Yes, thank you. So back in 2012, the Appraisal District worked on a Certificate of Excellence of Appraisal Administration for the International Association of Assessing Officers. And we were able to get that. And that's about a 13 to 14 chapter. It's like a dissertation. Every 5 years, we have to redo that and submit 4 chapters plus updates on legislation, staff, building, technology. And so we were able to, in 2018, 19, be able to renew it. Well, it was up for renewal, and I'm very proud of our department. I think they've already left, that worked on this along with myself, Mr. Thompson. And we have our recertification for the year 2024 and 5 years going with the International Association of Assessing Officers as a Certificate of Excellence in Appraisal Administration. And at the conference in Denver in 2 weeks, we will be accepting the plaque for that. And so it'll be on our walls. Big step. So that, yes, that's the most important thing. Yeah, thank you
I
for
wasn't going to let
reminding
you
me.
forget it. But a few of us, are you going?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
so-
no, it's Mr. Haggerty.
Oh, you're going? That's,
Mr. Haggerty's going.
I almost got you to go.
okay.
I got Shane to go. So
I'll
we're
be
gonna-
there, I'll be
we
there
are
in
gonna
spirit.
go. You know, I really encourage all of you at one time to be able to go to these conventions, whether it's the state one or the national one, which is the one in Denver, because you really have to see how this agency works in relationship to all the other agencies. I don't think you can fully appreciate how this appraisal district really runs until you see how other appraisal districts run and other chief appraisal officers and other liaison officers. We're exemplary. And it shows and it's lauded by the agencies when we go. The other agencies appreciate El Paso and they say that. So we have a lot to be proud of here, but I think we take it for granted because we don't have a point of comparison. You'll see when we get there. So I encourage you, this one is in Denver, and those who aren't going, but we'll go. The next one is going to be
In February, it'll be the Texas Association of Appraisal Districts. So come December, we'll be asking who would like to go.
Where is it?
I'm not sure. Is it Houston? Oh, it's Houston. Yes, it's Houston. Yeah,
Can't
in
believe I
February
knew
it's in
that.
Houston, yes.
So it'll be in Houston if you'd like to go. It's not really a fun thing, but it is a fun thing. But it's something where you really learn. I was just talking to the attorneys about how we learned at a national one of these conferences how like emerging countries, communist countries, all of a sudden have to get their act together, and how do they create assessing properties that have never been assessed before, because in a communist country you don't have to assess anything. Now they did. Poland. And we had a representation of people from Poland who gave an entire dissertation of how they set this up. So it's interesting to see how it works in other countries. It's interesting to see how it works in other jurisdictions throughout the country.
And that'll be, the one in February is statewide, and so they actually set up sessions. Mr. Coronado attended the sessions that are made for Board of Directors. And
Very
there's
interesting.
attorneys that give those, there's other chief appraisers, so. Oh, in Austin?
Austin?
Oh, thank you.
It's even better.
Austin.
It's even
It'll be
better.
in
I'd rather go
Austin.
to Austin than Houston.
Yeah, yeah. Austin's easier to get
My
to.
daughter lives in Austin. All right, so it's in Austin, not Houston. Sorry. All right. Are there any other questions? We do have a board training.
Okay.
It's-
We need to adjourn this one to go
I know.
into the training.
I just want to see if anybody has any questions or issues before we adjourn the meeting. the training should not last longer than another half an hour. Okay, 2 hours. Now that it'll be short, but I think it's important, especially for those of you who are new, but also for those of you who aren't, to really know what the parameters are. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the business part of this meeting?
So
Second?
moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are stand adjourned.